Hey,
Okay.
um, why are my sinuses draining now?
I was wondering, how many of our opens start with me going, oh, hey? Because my guess is it's all of them.
All of them. I will
All of
put
them.
together a supercut.
I hope you do.
No, that takes time, and I'm not about that life. Uh,
Oh,
but hey, let's get right into it because we've got a lot to talk about besides
Mm.
Alfred Hitchcock. We're going to talk some James Gunn stuff and Star Wars stuff and King Chuck stuff. Uh,
oh, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about it.
but yeah, let's get into it. Hey, everybody. Welcome to You Have to Watch This podcast. I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
And today we're talking about the Alfred Hitchcock horror classic, The Birds, a film that Ryan made Devin and I watch for the first time. But before we get into that, we like to talk about things that we watched in pop culture over the last week or so and fill the guys in on what we've been up to outside of the assignments for the podcast. Devin, I know you were talking before the show about how emotional you got watching a lot of things this past few weeks, and I want to talk about the first one that is really hits close to home for you, which is the coronation of King Charles III.
Hit me right in the feels. Guys, I want you to know I was
Oh
ready.
God!
Oh
So for those of you following along at home, I have a
Uh,
plastic Union Jack with King Charles's face and the coronation dates in it. Oh, baby, was I ready for this coronation? Did you guys watch any of it? Listen, did you actually watch any of it?
No, I saw the
No?
picture you sent of comparing him to Supreme Leader Snoke, and that was it.
Yeah, that's about right. Okay. That's all you needed to see. I mean, to
Okay.
be fair, it wasn't.
Oh, Devin was going to say the wrong thing, and he froze out. They cut the feed.
I
They cut
think
the
the
feed.
UK government wasn't happy with
No,
sarcastically
it's the
waving
royals.
the flag.
It's the royals.
Yeah.
Charles has killed
so-
before. He'll do it again.
Yeah. The whole thing happened prior to me even waking up. And,
Yeah.
And honestly, all I've seen is people doing different takes on the Holy Hand Grenade from Mighty Python's search for the Holy Grail because of that apple ball thing that they handed him. So I've seen that a ton.
Can we just acknowledge the fact that Devin right now looks like he's doing a really intense vocal solo?
Yeah, he does.
So I went to my grandmother's birthday party over the weekend, and I got there. I was like, how you feeling, Nana? Are you excited? She's like, oh, I'm tired. I woke up and watched the coordination. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, Devin's frozen. It looks like he's Devin's out. Can I?
He's gone.
He's still here. So
Okay.
it looks like he's trying to come back.
There
he
we go.
is.
My goodness,
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to besmirch the king in a recorded setting. Apparently,
Like I said while you were frozen, he's killed before. He'll kill again.
Oh, God.
So, as an American, what was it like experiencing that in the UK? Was it weird? Was it exciting at all for you, or?
It was both. It was exciting because it's like literally like watching history. Like this is a genuine historical moment. The turning of the kings always is. But like it's weird because I was always taught to like hate kings. Like in school we're taught like kings are bad, America was good because we got rid of kings. So it was very weird to like watch one and like try to be proud of it. And that part was very strange. And I also just quickly realized that like I'm not mature enough to handle anything with any kind of significance. There was a point where, and Ryan sent a meme like this, but I did it live. He brought out the holy hand grenade of Antioch, and the whole time I was like, and they'll feast upon the lambs and the orangutan and the breakfast cereal, and just and it was the whole thing. Like the whole thing was just that. It was wonderful and weird, and I'm glad I experienced it. More importantly, I'm glad I like went as like kind of all out for it as I did.
Your walls are so bare. I want you to take that off of the stem and frame that. Yeah,
and that's why I have the lights. It makes up for the lack of colored walls. Great.
Yeah. So, Devin, did you watch anything else this weekend?
I did. This is the actual emotional thing I watched this weekend. Dang it.
Yeah. Devin and I both saw Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And we're going to try to do this without spoilers. But I will say this. I haven't cried that hard at a movie in my life. Like
Wow.
I've never been a wreck like I was at the end of this movie. It's even hard for me to talk about it right now because I did a whole full spoiler review over on Brilliant but Lazy, which if you're watching, you can find the latest episode of that wherever you get your podcasts or on the Victims and Villains YouTube page. There's a moment at the end that just hit really close to home for me. Considering what I've gone, like stuff that's happened in the last year or so, and it just it rocked me, and I wasn't expecting it as much to hit me as hard as it did. But Devin, how many times did you cry at this movie?
Twice.
Twice?
Definitely twice. Yeah, and my guess is it's probably the same parts or similar parts as you. I love this movie. This was the best way to end it. I think that there were a couple of ways the whole time I'm like, okay, they keep saying this is the end of this team. How would Devin have written this as the end of this team? And like I kept like, oh, it'd be cool if they did this or this. I couldn't have written a better movie. They did the best job they could have with these people, and it made me love them even more, like how they ended them.
Yeah. Ryan, you have not seen this movie. Do you have any interest in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3?
I will eventually see it because I will eventually see all of the Marvel stuff simply because I want to keep pace to it. It's just I'm going to be dragging my feet a little bit on it.
Yeah.
I do not believe I'm going to have the same feeling that you guys did though about it.
Probably not. I'm pretty sure the thing that made me cry is not what made Devin cry.
Oh, maybe not.
And we can talk about it after the show. Yeah, we'll talk about it after the show because I don't want to put spoilers out there. I will say the soundtrack is amazing.
Yes.
And Guardians of the Galaxy is the best MCU trilogy that they have made.
Yes.
Because it does not. What I love about this movie, it does not rely on Infinity War and Endgame. It tells the story. It addresses things that happen in those films, but it sticks to. You quit changing the colors, man. You're throwing me off.
Sorry, it was an accident.
It tells a complete story over 3 films, whereas when you get into like the Iron Mans and the Captain Americas, like the movies kind of get diluted by the Avengers and the Avengers Age of Ultron, and Civil War is not a Captain America movie, it's Avengers 2.5.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, highly recommend Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I'm probably going to go see it again.
I want to sit down and watch all 3 of these movies back to back because like now that I have like a whole arc for these characters, I feel like I'm going to get a lot more out of it than I did this time because it's been a while since I watched 1 and 2. But the fact that, I mean, rightly so, this movie just focused on the characters or really wasn't, I mean, kind of, but like the whole plot wasn't like, Guardians, the galaxy's in trouble, come save the galaxy. And like that wasn't really the plot. And I think that was the right move.
Yeah, no, I didn't know what the plot of this was going to be, and I think they did a really good job of balancing stuff that they needed to continue from part 2 into this one, like Adam Warlock and all that stuff. So, yeah, that's what we watched. Ryan, what have you been up to? What have you been watching?
Well, I finally finished the Bad Batch, the latest season of it. So I got fizzed out around like 4 or 5 episodes into it. Stopped watching it as they were releasing, and I finally caught up to it the past couple days. Devin, the first the first half of the season relies on callbacks and little like, hey, look, we're in Dooku's castle. Remember Doku? Like, whatever. I messed up his name. Anyway,
no, I get you.
Remember him, but then after that type of a beginning, they start to go on their own storyline and their own thing that actually affects the characters and doesn't rely on, like, we're going to this location, we're talking to this person that like, they don't rely on that, and it's just them dealing with their own storyline towards the end. And then I got really into it, and yeah, I mean, it's good.
Yeah.
It ends on probably the worst cliffhanger I've ever seen, so I know season 3 is going to be coming out here soon to explain that whole mess. But I mean, I enjoyed it, so as much as an adult can.
I mean, that's got me interested in it because I mean, a lot of Bad Batch season 1 turned into, remember this guy? Do you remember this guy? Hey, look, it's the baby Rancor. Hey, look, it's the baby this thing. And like, sure, you know what I mean? Like, that's cool, and it's cool to like have them connected and be like, oh wow, they were in the background and met with that person when this was happening there. Like, that's kind of cool. But like at some point, like, have anything emotionally relevant happen to these people, please.
Yeah, I mean, it's still the whole like, it's still the whole like, like father-daughter dynamic thing with like the kid on the show. So I mean, that's being played to death right now all over media. But yeah,
and just in Star Wars,
yeah, it is. But this is I don't know. I feel like because of how important she is, that you find out how important she is, it kind of makes it a tad bit different. And by the middle part of the opening part of the season, she becomes part of the unit and not just like the kid they're looking after. Like, they start asking her to like, it's like, hey, we need you to go on your own and do this on the mission. Instead of them trying to like, protect her, she's part of the unit and not just like a kid they're protecting.
Yeah.
So
that's where I want it to go, and I'm glad I got there so fast.
Yeah. So I mean, it's something that if you're into wanting to know every inch of the background of what's going on in the background of keeping up is with the Skywalkers, I highly recommend adding this to your watch list. But if you don't really care that much about it, you don't need to see it.
I'm gonna have a lot of free time soon, so it's probably going under my watch list.
Okay.
You need to watch Ted Lasso first.
Did you love it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, you need to watch Ted Lasso.
Because I've seen so many internet think pieces that are like, Ted Lasso lost its way. Ted Lasso lost its magic. Ted Lasso's not as good as it used to be.
Devin, stop. You do this all the time.
I know.
And we always prove you wrong.
But these are the media that I get fed. Like, I don't even look for this stuff. It just gets like, it pops up on my news.
No, there has been a lot of criticism of Ted Lasso this season, but I think everything that they've done has been building to stuff. And the last few episodes have proved me right.
Good.
So,
Good.
Fun fact, I've been watching the show that releases on Wednesdays on Tuesday nights because it actually drops at like 9:00 Eastern on Apple TV Plus.
So are you like one of the first people to watch it then?
Yeah, I think a lot of people do it, so I'm not the only one. But in case you didn't know, Ryan, if you want to watch Ted Lasso tonight, you can. But all right, let's get into today's main topic. The Alfred Hitchcock film The Bird, starring Rod Taylor, Tippi Hedren, and Jessica Tandy. This is Ryan's pick. Ryan, you go ahead and take it away.
Okay, so like Alan said, it's The Birds. This movie released in 1963. It was on the tail end of Alfred Hitchcock's career. And it basically became an instant, didn't really become an instant classic when it came out. It came out to mixed reviews. But it since then, after as the years have gone by, it's become into a classic. My first experience with this movie, I don't know, I think like 4 or 5, maybe 6. We were visiting my grandparents. They put it on. They lived in rural Arkansas, so of course the next day I was afraid to even go into the barn after seeing this. But it's quickly turned into one of my favorite like older movies. I don't watch it that often, maybe once every 2 years. but when I watch it, I end up watching it again, or maybe like 2 or 3 times in a month, just because of, just how much I kind of just like it playing in the background. I forget how much I like it. There are some silly, outdated camera techniques and film decisions that were made in this movie, which I'm sure we will get to. But that's my experience with it. That's where it is for me. It's not my favorite Hitchcock film, but it's on the list of like top 10. So your guys' experience, what did you know about it before? How'd you feel about it?
We've talked about this before on the show. My experience with Alfred Hitchcock is I've seen 2 of his films. One was South by Southwest, which you made me watch. North by Northwest, sorry. And then I watched Rear Window in every film class that I took at Penn State. Like, I kid you not, I saw that 3 times at Penn State on a big screen. And after the the first time, I was like, I don't need to watch this again. I'm not going to come to class that day. I hadn't seen this before. My wife had. She was in the room when I watched it. So we got to talk about some things that we'll probably touch on a bit later on in the show, but I enjoyed it. I want to see more Hitchcock. I like his stuff.
Okay.
I like the cut of his jab.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It was a good movie. I mean, it's one of those where, like, sure, there was some older, like, filming techniques used, but, like, a good movie is a good movie. You know what I mean? Alfred Hitchcock's really good at suspense. He's really good at getting you to go, come on, notice the thing. And, like, and that's really good. Also, if I hear that little kid song one more time, I'm going to get so mad.
No, I'm not going to sing it.
I was ready for one of you too. But no, it was a really, really, really good movie. I'm shocked that I hadn't seen this before, and I'll want to spend some time talking about his like camera work because he's so good. Like the only other Alfred Hitchcock movie I've ever seen was Vertigo, and I love like I could just watch like 3 hours of him filming San Francisco.
That would be very interesting.
I'd love it. I'd love it.
He'd be in every other scene. He'd be in every.
Fine. Was he in this movie? Did I miss him? Did he give himself a cameo?
Okay, so that's the first thing that I'm going to touch on. Albert Hitchcock was one of those directors that liked to put himself into the background of movies, whether it be like a one-sentence speaking role, or just walking in the background down the street. He shows up in the first like 3 minutes of this one. He is walking out of the pet shop as she is walking in to pay. He is walking out of the pet shop with his dogs. I don't really know if they're his dogs, actual dogs or not, but he's walking out of the pet shop as she's walking in.
Did you catch him? Did you catch him?
Yeah, I mean,
No, I missed it.
No.
I wasn't expecting to be in the first 5 seconds of the movie.
And usually that's not the case. Usually it's like in the middle or some random part later on. It's not, like the very first thing. And I think one reason why I think possibly one of you two probably missed it is because of what happens to her. Some little kid catcalls her, and she turns around and smiles, and it's right after that he walks out of the pet shop.
Yeah, there were some older sentiments in this movie that aren't always great.
Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it just, if you look at it as a period piece and you look at it kind of in the time frame in which it's set, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It is, but then you get into the allegory of what this movie is talking about, and it's like, it's still not good.
Dive into that for me. I don't know what the allegory of what this movie is talking about. I did a very surface level watching this.
So
is it too much for this?
I'll save it for later. How's that?
Okay, yeah. I mean, because we can. Yeah. Okay. I didn't know the movie was an allegory.
It is.
I just figured. I haven't even looked into this movie that deeply. I just figured that it was just a, like, oh, beware of nature
It's the
thing.
kind of
But
thing where I made a joke about a line in the movie, and my wife's like, "Well, actually," and I was
Oh
like, "Oh,"
boy.
I was like, "Oh, wait, really?" And then as soon as I made that connection, the rest of the movie made sense to me. I was like, "Oh, okay." So, but
Is
I'll
that
save it.
why?
I'll save it for later. I'll save it for later.
Okay, because I know. Okay, good.
okay,
Exciting
so
pin.
the movie starts off with the main character. I don't have the names in front of me, but the movie starts off with who I consider to be the main character. She's in the pet shop. She wants to buy a bird. A guy walks in who recognizes her, and they pretty much troll each other. The one guy is the main lead role is pretending that she works at the pet shop. Even though she doesn't, she pretends it back, and a bird gets loose, and havoc ensues. Um, what did you guys think of that whole beginning piece of just how it was done, just how it was dragged out actually? Because this is one of those movies that I don't mind the slow that I don't mind the slow burn.
I mean, I thought it was good. I thought it was interesting. I tried not to look into how much the guy was kind of being a jerk during all of that, but it
Yeah.
apparently worked because she followed him home. So, I mean, I guess it was fine, but I really liked her part where she just tried her best. Where he's like, "Are they molting?" She's like, "Sure, some are." No, they're not. Stop
Yeah,
it.
no.
Yeah, I liked that it took a while. Like, you have birds at the beginning at the bird shop, but I like that it took a while and it spaces out the attacks before. Like, it's not
Mhm.
like opening credits, bird attack. Like, so I like that. I like the pacing of it. The pacing was good.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Ryan.
Yes.
I meant to ask this at the top of the show, but I want to ask it now. Why did you make us watch a movie about something you don't believe in?
See, at this point, birds were still birds. At this point, that switchover hadn't happened
No,
yet.
no. This is the beginning of it. Like, you know how Kubrick did the moon landing, Hitchcock made the birds. Like,
Yeah,
that's
No, but that's not the story. You see, the CIA went to JFK about this at the start of his administration, and JFK said, "No, we're not doing this. We don't have the funding," and that's incredibly wrong. That's why what happened to JFK happened, and then after his administration, eventually, they they talked to his predecessor, and he's the one that actually
man.
put stuff in motion.
We got
love
King
it.
we got King Charles coming after Devin. We've got the CIA coming after Ryan.
We're on all kinds of lists tonight, guys.
Yeah.
So, hold on. I did have a quick question about the movie. Is the movie a horror movie, or is the movie a suspense movie?
I consider it a horror suspense from the early 1960s.
Would you consider it horror, Alan?
I would. Horror doesn't need to be bloody and gory. Like, it can just be suspenseful.
Because I was thinking about that. Like,
And horrible things need to happen, hence the name of the genre.
Or just terrifying things. Like, it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to know what happens for it to be horrific.
That's true.
but
I mean,
I would, yeah, I consider it horror.
I think for me, it was just so suspenseful that I was like, okay, it's like a thriller movie. Like, it's not really like an actual like horror. But maybe it's because I like the modern terms of like horror and like coming fresh off the back of Lords of Salem. I'm like, okay, this is nothing like that.
Okay. Now, so the movie in about for 25 minutes is when the movie starts to the first bird attack that pretty much happens to her. One of my favorite scenes in the first half of this movie happens in that time frame when she's driving in her Aston Martin to the little village, and they focus on the two little lovebirds that she got for the guy's younger sister for her birthday, and they show the birds leaning into the turn as she's turning the steering wheel, and that whole sequence of the tires squealing and everything, because they're really trying to show that like she is self-involved. She is driving recklessly to the point that these birds are having to bend their bodies to keep on the little stand that they're on. And then she gets to the town, which would be like her driving that car into that town would be like someone driving a Rolls Royce into Newville. That's how much she stood out in that town driving that car.
And now we've got the new superintendent of Big Spring Schools coming after Ryan.
Yes,
Yay.
we do.
One thing that I always like go into horror movies like this thinking and trying to figure out is, I know what's happening, but why? Like, what is the reason that all of these are like all these birds are attacking? Is it her? Like, is she the cause?
Mm-hmm.
I have a theory, but I want to get your guys' take on it. Like, what was causing the birds to attack? Ryan, you've watched this movie several times. Do you have a theory?
Yeah. I honestly believe that it's supposed to be left off as completely non-answerable, but if I had to put my finger on it, the late 60s, there was a giant push of technology and research, and there was a new belief in human superiority over the planet in the late 50s, early 60s. And I feel like this was kind of I feel like this was the director going, we're not there yet. Mother Nature can still kind of, can kind of put us back in our place. So I feel like it was more of a, like, hey, knock that ego down a little bit type of a thing.
Okay.
See, I took it as like a response to the beginning part of the movie, where in the beginning part of the movie, I mean, literally until she gets to Bodega Bay, in almost every shot, there's a scene of a caged bird.
Yeah.
And it's like a call and response. Like in the beginning, you see nothing but caged birds. And in the end, those birds are clearly mad because this is what you're doing to them.
Yeah.
And like, I almost took it as like, la resistance. Like,
my theory kind of plays off of yours, Devin.
Okay.
I think it's a reaction to the lovebirds.
Really?
Like, as soon as she brings them to town, that's when things start to happen. Because at first I was like, maybe the school teacher's a witch, and I was like, nope, that's not it. But yeah, I think it has to do with the lovebirds.
That's really interesting. Because did they bring them at the end? Did they bring them?
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. I like that
Yeah.
theory. I'm keeping it.
It's a decent theory.
So this is one of the reasons, by the way, that I'm glad that Ryan, you put your opinion on a lot of things, because I didn't know about her like Aston Martin. I didn't know what kind of car it was.
Yeah.
I didn't know like its place. I was like, that's an old car, and she's driving into an old town, and like just didn't like connect anything there.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where she was the daughter of a newspaper like owner, so she's supposed to be like from one of the richest families in San Francisco, probably like top 20 list of richest families in California at the point. At that point, so they were trying to show how much as of a fish out of water she was, especially with how like the store owner reacts to her when he asks her, do you know how to work a outboard motor? And she goes, oh yeah, sure, I've done it before. And he just glances her up and down, and mentally you can see the look on his face is like, yeah, okay, I'll go get you the boat. Like,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hold on then. While we're talking about this,
fine.
is what she does in the beginning creepy, or is it endearing? Because like it really towed the line of being like a bit much.
It's a bit much.
Yeah.
I think it shows. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I think it shows that trying to date when you're past like your mid-20s is really difficult, and people do what they have to. And that's never
Well,
changed.
well, it's hard for me to say because the subtext of the movie that I'm looking at this at kind of changes that whole thing a little bit.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
I think we should get into this.
Okay.
Okay.
There's a lot of talk about San Francisco in this.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was at one point I jokingly said, "Wow, did Hitchcock have a problem with the homosexuals?" And my wife's like, "Well," and then if you look at this whole movie as an allegory for the homosexual lifestyle in the 60s, it makes a lot of sense.
Oh no.
So the school teacher moves there to date him, but they have a falling out, but she stays because she still cares for him. He's a single man living with his mother and sister. The way the woman attacks her in the restaurant after the bird attack, like, this is all your fault, you're evil, and like she just slaps her in reaction. Like, there's a lot of stuff there. And The Birds is based off of a short story by Daphne de Manure, who was a lesbian writer. And I'm a cis white male, so I don't want to dive into this too much, but it's an interesting take on the film, and it's an interesting adaptation if you look at it through that lens.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And this was the second attempt to bring that short story into really mainstream media. It was first done as a radio play, and then they got the rights again to originally do it as a second radio play. And then Hitchcock got wind that they were doing it again. Was like, no, this can be one of my shows, because he had that TV show. That this could be an episode, and then he developed the story and went, no, this is not an episode. This needs to be its own movie.
Yeah.
And then that's how this movie came about.
So were those overtones, the kind of subtext you were talking about, Alan, were they present in the original short story?
I don't know. I was trying to look that up a bit. Looking at the author's Wikipedia page. But I have an article here I can send you guys about the Freudian examination of homosexuality in The Birds.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I had
And
no
also,
idea
you're right.
that there was this much, that was even part of this, because I've never looked at anything up like that for this movie. So,
What was the line that
learn
tipped you
something
off,
every day.
Alan?
I think it was right before. It was just like, you're not even gonna be safe in San Francisco, or like people judging her for being from San Francisco, and I was like, well, wait a second. So.
Wow, what a good catch.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Huh.
Yes.
No, I was gonna say it wasn't my catch. My wife educated me because she's a teacher.
There you go.
Well done.
So she goes, puts the birds on the porch, comes back. First bird attack happens there. It's one seagull comes down and grazes her skull.
Mhm.
And then
As they do.
And her interest comes down, pulls her out of the boat. They go into the little restaurant, which, when she goes into the restaurant, there's a guy that like talks to them for like 2 lines. He's the actual owner of that restaurant, and that was a condition to let Hitchcock film in that restaurant, that the owner had to like be like there. And he was like, yeah, sure, fine, whatever.
Love it.
So she gets attacked. That's the first bird attack. I believe the second one, before anything worse happens, she spends the night. She spends that night with staying at the teacher's house, which plays into what Alan was saying even more, which I'm realizing now. And they're just talking, and then there's like a bang at the door, and there's a crow or a seagull that had just flew right into the front door. That's like the second bird thing. And there's a bird attack again on the main town after the school gets attacked in one of the most famous scenes, which I'm going to bring up. And then there's a bird attack at a birthday party. I'm giving these purposely out of order in case there's anyone out there who hasn't seen the movie yet. You're gonna know what's going to happen, but I'm gonna kind of make it a little okay. So what happens before then, type of thing. So,
I don't think we need to worry about a movie that came out in 1963 and spoilers.
Yeah, I know, but still, I'm still just want to give a little bit, of a surprise.
It's a good call.
So the scene with her at the playground, where she's out front smoking, and then the birds pile up, and then they do the whole fire drill out. What did you guys think of all that? Because as far as I'm aware, that's like the most famous bird attack scene from this movie. Have you guys seen that scene before?
I hadn't seen that scene before, but that's what I like about Hitchcock is how he shows you the building tension and like just every cut back and forth with more birds landing. Like I really enjoyed that. Because that's a great way to build tension without much happening. Like she's sitting there and then just the birds landing and then she goes inside, and I like that a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen that one. I saw the scene where they walk past it later and the birds are still hanging out on the jungle gym. Like, keep walking, buddy. Like, I've seen that scene a couple of times.
It's just the crows from Dumbo.
That's the real scary part of the movie. That they're back.
Yeah. So that gets into some of the effects I wanted to talk about this. So a lot of the scenes were very plainly obvious, and it's what it was. They were running on a giant, like, all of the kids and the actresses were running on treadmills in front of a screen that was playing. And that's how they did a lot of the running scenes, where it's like you'd watch and you could clearly tell that like the people are running in, like they're the main focus of the camera, but then behind them it's just a screen playing, what the background is. And believe it or not, they did use real birds for a lot of this stuff too. I know that it's the early 60s, but the film crew and the producers linked up with the ASPCA, and that they actually had vets on set, and they had like a little bird hospital triage thing going. No birds died during the filming of this. One or two got a little hurt, but they were fine. In fact, the human actors actually sustained more mental and physical damage from making this movie, which, there's that.
Well, I think this leads into like the only fact I know about this movie then, is that during the scene when she's up in the attic for her bird attack, where with Tippi Hedren's up there, it wasn't just like special effects. Like, I heard they had like crew members throwing bags of live birds at her. Is that true?
She had two birds that were loosely tied to her, and it took 5 days to film that scene.
5 days.
So she had two birds at least loosely tied to her during some of those shots, and they legitly injured her. Her cheek and her one eye, to the point where she actually spent a week in the hospital after they were done. And she also had a mental break from it too. So she was also in the hospital for that.
Was she feeling a bit under the feather?
70 years removed, we can make that joke.
I love it.
But yeah, I mean, she developed like temp. I don't want to make light of PTSD, but she basically made like she basically developed a temporary version of that after making this movie, because of dealing with the birds attacking her pretty much for 5 days.
Yeah,
they were not just throwing birds at her, Devin. But I mean, it looks like that. It does look like that though. I could definitely see, So the attack on the town has probably the most dated film sequence that I want to talk about, especially with Alan here, because he's more of our expert on this stuff. I understand why they did it, but it still boggles my mind every time I see it. It's her reacting to the gasoline catching on fire and the 3 stills of her face being like shocked, and then shocked. I don't know if it's how long they linger on her face for more than like, I feel like it's only up for a second, but I feel like it should have only been up for like a half a second or a quarter of a second, because it looked kind of silly. But then again, it's 1963. I get what he was trying to do. It really stands out like a sore thumb at this point.
I'm pulling the clip up just to watch it again quick.
Oh, because this definitely stood out to me when I was watching it too. I was like, oh, this reaction. Oh, they did it again.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is a third time. Why is it still?
Now, I totally get that it's supposed to convey fear and shock, and it's supposed to show that like the worst thing she could imagine happening at that moment happened. So I totally get the facial expressions. It's just I feel like they held on it way too long each time. Yeah, Dev. Yeah,
Alan got to it.
Yeah. So Alan, what's your take on that?
Look at me doing visual gags on a audio podcast. So it's reaction shots, and it's the shock and awe of the horror of what she's seeing. And I'm trying to figure out if her eyes actually follow. Yeah, if you watch it, like it's just showing she's following the action. So her eyes are following the flame as it goes. It's just weird that she's frozen. Like her eye line just stops. It's not like, it'd be one thing if it was smooth and like.
Yeah, and she was like watching the flame go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but instead it looks like an 80s music video. She's like, Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto.
Yeah.
I think it's just the way it's cut that makes it seem like if the eye line was moving, it would work a lot better.
Yeah.
Instead of just being frozen in one spot.
Okay. Good. So, on the professional opinion, it correlates to how Devin and I feel about it.
Fair, though, the lead up to that scene is my favorite part of the movie because I love the idea of this guy being shouted at to not do one very simple, very specific thing. Don't do the thing, and he panics so much he does the thing.
Yeah.
Like, that is so relatable to me.
Now, this is 1963. They were the mother who eventually slaps the lead actress that Alan was talking about. She's pushing this guy who's drunk at the bar in the restaurant to leave so they can follow him. So he's drunk and he's going to get into the car and they're going to follow him to this destination that they're going to be. So he's already plastered when that happens too at the same time, which I mean, just adds humor for me.
And fired to the flame.
Fired to the flame. Yeah, exactly. Now, this also has probably the most terrifying moment for me that, like, in the whole movie, with everything that happens, the scariest part that I would not want to be in, or the scariest situation that I wouldn't want to be in, is in the phone booth. In the middle of all of that.
Okay.
Now, like I said, no birds were actually, like, two birds were injured. They were dealt with. They were fine. No birds actually died. But they used, like, heavy sandbag birds to throw at the like breakable glass to get that like pop reaction or pop like glass break on there. I just don't like the idea of being in a confined space like that with that whole situation going on. And especially with that one moment where she thinks the car is going to hit her and it veers off to the side and hits the car that started the fire to begin with, like that whole thing. What did you guys think of that?
think you're right. I think it is a. I mean, it's especially scary because if the birds are attacking like in a house, right? You have like other rooms or like a thing you could hide under.
Yeah,
It's just like a phone booth is a very exposed thing. Like, where do you go aside from out? And like, if they start coming in, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I completely
That,
agree.
that's why we don't have phone booths anymore.
That's it. There's no reason.
Um, one thing I'll say about this movie is it I can see where M. Night Shyamalan got the inspiration for The Happening. Have you guys seen The
Yeah, okay.
Happening?
Yes.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So we don't have to do it on the show.
No.
Like
No.
I can see where he got the idea for that from something like this. But this is so much more terrifying because you have that visual, like actual attacking from the birds. Like you actually have that physical threat that's visible instead of it just like if the birds were invisible this whole time, it wouldn't be nearly as scary.
I agree, and I think that because I get again, it's like you said, I get what he was going for, where like you don't see it, so it could be ubiquitous, it could be anywhere, in much the same way that like the birds are anywhere. But I think when it's an invisible thing in The Happening, you lose that sense of, well, why are they even doing this? Which is like such a big talking point in this movie, and such like a big source of tension, because like you can't have a scene like the last scene of the movie where you're walking out among all of these birds and will they won't they attack. You can't have that if it's literally air that's getting you, or spoilers for M. Night Shyamalan's The Happening, I guess, but pollen or something.
The trees are killing people. Oh no!
Well delivered, Zoe Deschanel.
That was supposed to be my Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, no, that was horrible. That movie's horrible. Anyway,
I thought you were gonna say my impression was horrible.
No. Not the impression, just the movie in general.
It was horrible. It's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. It's whatever.
If I was doing Zoe Deschanel, I had to put on my glasses.
Now you're a relatable girl next door. Well done, Alan.
So, okay. When they get into the house and they're boarding the thing up, what did you guys think was going to happen? How did you guys think this was going to end? How horrible do you think this was going to get?
I didn't think Tippi Hedren made it. I like up until even the end, I'm like, yeah, she's dead. Like I thought that's what was gonna happen. I didn't think the ending was gonna turn out the way it did.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought she was either going to die in that last attack or just die on the way to the the way out.
Mm-hmm.
So,
was that your expectation, Ryan? Did you think so too, or?
My first time watching this as a tiny little kid, I can't even tell you what I was thinking. All I know, like I said, is that I didn't want to go into my grandfather's barn as the day after watching this movie. But one of the things that I found interesting, and I'm pretty sure if you get a DVD copy, if you can find a VHS copy, which is what my grandparents had, there is no the end.
Mm-hmm.
On this, and it's like a minute and a half of just blackness until the credits like start rolling at the end. Hitchcock did that purposely because he wanted the audience to be in that like terrified suspension of what Devin was talking about for as long as possible.
Was it that he did that on purpose for that intentionally, or was it because the money ran out and he couldn't do his last shot with all the birds on the Golden Gate Bridge like he wanted to?
Wait, is that what he was gonna do?
Yeah,
he wanted to do that. No, it was intentional because during the first weekend release, the studio put it in anyway because they wanted it, and Hitchcock threw such a fit at the studio that they took it out and they resent out the movie without it.
Wow.
Interesting.
So that was intentional from him.
So hold on. the way that the movie ended for me then, having only seen and having only known about this version that we watched, is that they drive away. And
Yeah.
ostensibly, at least from my reaction, the birds are done. Like, Tippy's done. They're not following her. Like, they're out of the picture. Like, bird attacks done. Is, like, the canon ending to this that, like, we didn't see that, like, the birds take over the world?
I think the canon ending to this is you don't know what happens next. Like, it's ambiguous
Oh.
to make you terrified of going outside and seeing a bird sitting on your car. Also, Devin, while you were talking, that blind behind you moved, and I thought a bird was going to fly through your window.
Oh, that would have been incredible.
It's just a British ghost. It's fine. It's just a British
I mean, the
ghost.
window's open and it's a breezy, thundery night.
Okay.
Okay.
That was my next question. Like, is there like a draft or something? Like, okay.
Yeah, no, we're okay.
I wasn't sure if Alfred Hitchcock was coming to join us on the show.
Friend of the show, Alfred.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Allie
I mean,
H.
that's where the way that I've always taken this movie until Alan, you brought it up, the allegory for it. I always took this movie again as like at the tail end of the 50s, early 60s, science, human engineering. We thought that we were at like the top of our game, and this was like an ego push. You'd be like, no, stop it. And so I always took it that at the end of this, because on the radio it said that there were other attacks that have been, that have come in, and that the National Guard was called. And he says about, over a wide area. So it's not just that town that's being attacked, it's everywhere. And then the fact that it's the Golden Gate Bridge is covered in them, in a scene that he wanted to do that he couldn't, just kind of verifies that for me. So as far as I'm concerned, from Bogota, whatever bay, to
Bodega.
Bodega, thank you, to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, is covered in birds.
Covered in birds.
Can we talk about Devin? What's the first thing
Yeah.
you think of when you think of a bodega?
Oh, it's like in New York City, like the things you
Yeah.
buy sandwiches and like chips from.
Yeah, the fact that there's a whole island named Bodega Island. I was just waiting for like a random cats to show up that you don't know where they came from. And
Bodega cat.
yeah, good breakfast sandwiches and stuff. That caught me off guard. Okay, I guess he just looked up a word and picked it as the name of the island. So
I mean, it's a real place.
is it?
Yeah, good old Bodega Bay. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's it's
Remind
one of those,
me-
like
Remind
weird
me never to go there for bird watching.
Good call. So
Anything
you-
else? Yeah. Go
I
ahead.
have one last thing. You brought up something about birds in this movie and the practical effects. How I love this about old practical movies. How the heck did they do the last shot? Do you know? Do you know anything about this? If you don't, that's fine. It's just movie magic. But like,
It's a
it's incredible.
combination of foreground and fake birds, real birds. Like here, a big example. These as the birds are building up on the playground equipment,
Mhm.
the only birds that are real are the ones that are moving. All the rest of them are stuffed, are just fake prop birds on the playground equipment.
When you put it that way, it sounds so incredibly obvious. But when you watch the movie, it really doesn't feel like that. They all feel
Yeah.
real.
Yeah, and it's because Hitchcock is Hitchcock for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the one thing I started this with. It's like it's an incredibly shot movie. I mean, some of these scenes are phenomenal. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, even what you said, the scene of her driving, like, there's a wide shot of her driving down the road that holds on it for a while, that I think is almost better filmed than a lot of movies I've seen today, and probably some movies that I'll recommend in the near future.
Yeah. What I like about this last shot is there's so much going on there you can't tell what's real and what's not.
Yeah.
But it also like paints a picture with the sun poking through the clouds and the light beams shooting down over the water, and you can't really tell if that's just bushes out in the distance or if it's more birds. Like it's like if I saw this framed in a art shop, I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, it's haunting. It really is, because I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many of them, and it's like Hitchcock does. You're literally just waiting for them to
Yeah.
attack, like as the car drives away.
Yeah.
The one thing this movie is missing from other like fake bird movies is little children dressed as giant penguins, like in Batman Returns.
Okay, so the last thing I want to leave with is sound. The screeching birds, the yelling birds was great. The best use of that was when they're in the house, they have the fire going, and it's that bird attack where he's nailing stuff to the
Yeah.
doors, because you can almost see it's almost comical. The little beaks are coming through the door a little bit. When they did the premiere of this, and everyone walked out, the crew had hid speakers in the trees and in bushes and cars around the theater. So when people came out of the movie theater, they turned that sound on of like the birds screeching to kind of push things home a little bit.
I love it.
Some of the bird screeches sounded like record scratches to me, which is fine.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. Anything else for the birds before we wrap this thing up?
No, this is a great movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah. I'm looking forward to doing more Hitchcock in the future. I'm also looking forward to the reason why Ryan's making us watch this and other Hitchcock stuff. So looking forward to that as well. Devin, next week is your pick. What are you going to have us watch?
So I didn't realize that we had such a glaring gap in our movie background. So I picked one that I'm really excited to introduce to at least one of you. It's Mission Impossible, the first one. I didn't know Alan hadn't seen it, and like Mission Impossible #2 is why I love movies. It's such a we'll get to it when we get to it, but you can't watch 2 without 1. So we're starting with 1. It's a stone cold classic. Still one of my favorites.
Are you going to try to make us watch all the Mission Impossibles before Dead Reckoning comes out?
When does Dead Reckoning come out?
Let me look.
Because perhaps.
So the one thing that the Mission Impossible movies had done for me is Limp Bizkit did, I think, the music video for Mission Impossible 2. Yeah.
Yes.
That soundtrack made me go out and buy a ton of soundtracks, including End of Days with Arnold Schwarzenegger, the one where they did like the end of the world with like the year 2000. And it was all like new metal for like the late 90s new metal and rock. And it was just the Mission Impossible movies, the first 3 anyway, hold a special place in my heart.
Me too. I mean, I think they're incredible.
Dead Reckoning Part 1 comes out July 12th.
Oh, Part 1.
Part 1?
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
So if you want, we're not gonna have enough time to do all 6 before then.
We could certainly do all 6 before the next the Part 2 comes out.
Or we could double up.
We could double up, but Mission Impossible, we'll double up once we get after 3. We have to do that. Okay. 2 is a special movie to me. We need to do this one on its own.
Okay. Works for me.
Perfect. I cannot wait for you guys to watch this movie.
Yeah. So tune in next week for that. You can also, if you haven't heard yet, we will be at Harrisburg Pop and Comic and PopCon August 26th and 27th. It's going to be a lot of fun. They're starting to announce guests for that. So go ahead and check that out. One of the Boondock segments will be there. Not that one. So make sure to come out and see us there. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And listen to You Have to Watch This podcast on all major podcasting platforms. Until next time, I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
And have a good evening. My Hitchcock is just Dr. Evil.
Pretty good, though.
I mean, it fits.